Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the February 13, 2008 regular meeting of the City of Glendale Civil Service Commission. Could we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Devine.
Here.
Commissioner Coleman.
Here.
Commissioner Manukian.
Here.
Marion.
Here.
Argantis.
Present. What is next?
Reading of the minutes.
What is your pleasure?
Dispense with reading and approve the minutes.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Devine.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Marion.
Here.
Yes. It's not here. It's yes, Mr.
Here and yes.
Here, yes.
What is next?
Oral communications.
Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Commission may question the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. I have no cards. Is there anybody in the room wishing to address the Civil Service Commission at this time? Seeing nobody, I declare oral communications closed. What is next?
Recruitment examination status report.
Mr. Doyle.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, the recruitment examination status report is provided for your information. As you can see, we have the names of the analysts listed, along with the recruitment processes that are at various stages. You'll note at the end that we do have approximately 105 processes going on at various stages, comprising approximately 116 salaried and hourly vacancies. This is an information-only item. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, we will move on. What is next?
List established.
Mr. Doyle?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this, again, is an information-only item. This is the eligible lists that have been established since our last meeting, which was 3 weeks ago. As you can see, very, very busy activity by the staff. We have, looks like about a dozen lists that have been established, some promotional, some open. The total number of applications received is listed in one column, as is the total number of ultimately made it onto the eligibility lists. If they have any questions about this report, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
I have a question.
Mr. Abkarian.
So the fire communication operator, there's 271 applications, 10 total eligibility list. I know that we have a big need in the police department for communications. Would some of these people also be going across to the police department if necessary? I mean, don't they have the same kind of, aren't they from the same level, same series?
Commissioner Abkarian, the two positions are very similar in both police and fire. And the individuals who are successful on that type of job tend to be cut from the same mold. They are, and it remains to be a very difficult position to fill, whether it's in police or fire. Finding individuals with the right temperament, the right ability, who's not going to get stressed out in these situations is very, very challenging. And you'll note there that that's a merged list, which is often the indication of the difficulty that we have filling certain jobs. I think for the police communications operator, we're constantly recruiting for that one as well, because it's very difficult to fill both of them. Also, both positions are subject to a background investigation as well. So, but the two positions are very, very similar. The fire operators deal primarily with medical emergencies, fires for all of the cities in the Verdugo Fire Communications Center, which is, I believe it's up to 11 cities now. Police, they deal simply with the City of Glendale police calls. Those run the gamut. Very, very busy, lots of activity as well.
I'm just assuming that somehow, if the background check is done and maybe 7 people are eligible, maybe give them an opportunity also to go to the fire once you do the background on it.
Police, you mean?
I mean, police, I'm sorry.
That certainly could be considered, but they are two individual testing processes, and therefore it would be a little complicated to try to crisscross them. And as far as the salary, I'm not sure which is higher currently. Probably Manya indicates fire, but again, they are again two very difficult positions to fill. And we're pretty much open to any suggestions on making that process a little more easy. We haven't had a lot of employees go back and forth from one to the other, but I think in the past we've had a few go from police to fire.
Because of the higher pay.
Probably. Probably. And it's they're both very stressful jobs, but it's a different type of stress that you'll be dealing with.
Raise the pay for the police to match the fire, maybe you'll get more applicants. Okay, and I'm no further questions.
Any other questions? There's no action on this. What is next?
Class specification for approval, Safety Services Series.
Mr. Doyle.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this item is the approval of a class specification. It's a revision of an existing specification for the Safety Services Specialist position. The primary change for this is the addition of a senior level position, which is being added to the series, a Senior Safety Services Specialist. What this position does reflect is really a more independent level of job duties, slightly more complex responsibilities than the Safety Services Specialist, and that's primarily the changes there. The last time this specification was addressed was 2001, which again 7 years ago. So it's appropriate that these be looked at every now and then and updated. Again, this is a very difficult field, very knowledge based. A lot of things that are important in hazardous materials, ergonomics, along those lines, which we're looking for individuals with those knowledges. So with that, this is here for your approval. We have Ms. Hunanian from my staff who worked on this specification, along with Mr. Steve Martin, who is our safety administrator.
Yes, Mr. Abkarian.
The experience that says varies with classification is how do we not make it as open as just varies with classification, or is each classification have specific?
They do. You have to look, what they're talking about is that now that it used to be one position, so then that's what it had specific. Now there are two, so the classification of Safety Services Specialist has 2 years of experience. The Senior Safety Service Specialist has 5 years.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Sorry about that.
And that's where most of the changes are on this
Yes,
thing.
if you keep reading it, that's it.
I have a question, Mr. Doyle. Is this, and how many positions do we currently have in the Safety Services Series or Specialist?
We currently have, I believe, two positions, budgeted positions for Safety Services Specialist. One is filled, the other is not. This would be a promotional opportunity for the existing Safety Services Specialist, who has been with us, I believe, 6 or 7 years. So the total number of positions is not changing. It's just one is being upgraded.
How come you can read my mind? Because I didn't ask that question. But that was the question I was going to ask.
We're in tune with one another.
I've been here too long, Mr. Doyle.
After this
scary.
many years, they can't even tell you how you're going to
I
vote.
hate to tell you, it's... How am I going to vote? You may not know how I'm going to vote. Well, you might have talked me into voting for it, because I so don't like creating new positions, as you know. I just think that we don't create new positions, so you've maybe convinced me. But I understand the promotional opportunity. That's fine.
Mr. Chair, you'll note Mr. Martin wore a tie this evening.
Yeah, is that because he thought I would vote in favor of it? Yes, he does have a tie on. It's very admirable, Steve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please, sorry.
Commissioner Devine,
Yes.
Commissioner Coleman,
Yes.
Commissioner Manukian,
Yes.
Commissioner Perrion,
Yes.
Chair Gantis.
Yes. What is next?
Agenda forecast.
Mr. Doyle.
Mr. Chair, the agenda forecast indicates the items that we have for the upcoming meetings. We do have a hearing following our next meeting on February 27th. There are a few items that we had planned to do a presentation on, one being the fire department outreach, hiring and probationary process, review of that, as well as our our twice annual report on hourly employment, and then the late performance evaluation report, which got pushed back a month. Then the following meeting, we have our report on advertising budget expenditures for the second quarter of the 07-08 fiscal year, and a brief report on the concept of selecting outside hearing officers. Wish to move any of those, we're certainly open to that.
We have a hearing next meeting, just the one hearing, but the other one, we've already set dates, and that doesn't include the next meeting, am I correct? I think that does not until March, middle of March. Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay. What is next?
Reports and information. Number A, past due employee performance evaluations. Postpone until 2/27/08.
Okay.
Number B, appointment, promotion to Assistant City Attorney.
Mr. Doyle.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, under the Charter and the Civil Service Rules, the City Attorney has the authority to make a recognized or suspension of competition appointments for his deputies and assistants. And this is, the requirement is that the Commission be notified when that occurs. In this case, Mr. Howard is sought to promote Albert Aldesco, otherwise known as Bobby Aldesco, to the position of Assistant City Attorney. Formerly, he was Deputy City Attorney. So this is per the Charter and Civil Service Rules. This is your notification of this promotion.
I would object to this unless if he goes back and uses Albert again instead of Bobby.
Or maybe you could become...
Bobby instead of Albert.
Does he, Mr. Coleman, could you see calling him Bobby Abkarian?
Real easily. I've heard him called a...
You want me to really comment on that? I don't think so. What is next?
Civil Service Commission and our staff comments.
This last week, we lost two members of the police family. The first one, I would request this commission to allow this meeting to be adjourned in memory of, is Sergeant Jack Meyer. The email that was put out is the following: we regret to announce the untimely passing of Sergeant Jack Meyer, a loving father, husband, friend, and longtime member of our Glendale Police Department family. Sergeant Meyer is survived by his wife Heather and his daughters Jordan, Molly, and Emma. Professionally, Jack can best be described as one of law enforcement's finest. All of us at the Glendale Police Department feel blessed to have known and served with Jack Meyer. Jack began his career with the police department in 1987. He worked in the Field Services Division for several years and quickly distinguished himself as a rising star in our organization. In 1991, Jack was transferred to the narcotics unit, where he flourished, establishing himself as one of the state's top experts in the field of narcotics investigation. In 2002, Jack was promoted to the rank of sergeant, where he continued to serve our agency by mentoring our young patrol officers and later by leading our narcotics and organized crime units. However, Jack will be remembered more for who he was as a person than for what he did as a police officer. He was a special individual who, for over 20 years in law enforcement, never allowed himself to become callous or cynical. Although highly skilled and extremely intelligent, he remained humble. He had a quiet dignity that inspired confidence in his leadership and made people want to be around him. The Glendale Police Department, and I would ask this commission, celebrate Jack's career and grieves for the loss of this truly good man. In addition, we lost Penny Hansen. And Ms. Torres, if you could gather up the obituary that was done on her. She was a member of the RSVPs. RSVPs were these Retired Senior Volunteer Patrol. Many of you may not know this. We have a group of, and I know I'm going to get in trouble, but I think there's about 10 or 12 seniors, retired seniors who man the desk at the cops unit up in Montrose. They make calls where there are small dogs barking or something, and they'll help write out a report. They do all the little stuff that sometimes gets lost, but is important for the police on one-on-one with the public. Most importantly, in the last 2 years, the RSVPs have taken it upon themselves to collect cans and donate them to our canine program. And they have, over the last 2 years, donated in excess of $2,000 by they themselves collecting the cans, taking them down, getting the money, and giving it to the Glendale Police Foundation for the help support our canine units. We will be reading about Penny. She was one of the leaders, and she would be always the one that would bring the check, and we're going to miss her greatly. Any other Civil Service Commission and/or staff comments? Mr. Devine.
Yes, I was talking a little earlier to Torres and our members about these short agendas. And I know that the charter says that this commission meets every 2 weeks, and I wondered if there was any way, if my colleagues agreed with me, we could ask Mr. Doyle to take a look at future agendas, and possibly when we have short items like this, and they're not time-sensitive items on the particular agenda, that we can combine them and perhaps only meet once that month rather than just have a meeting to take care of things that are not urgent. So just conceptually, I'm thinking of, saving time both for 5 of us and the staff and all the people sitting out there, rather than, if we don't have to meet every 2 weeks, why perhaps we could, organize the agendas so that could be done once a month or whatever. So I just wondered conceptually whether that's something my colleagues would want to ask Mr. Doyle to look into and report back to us on.
Mr. Coleman.
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Doyle, but pursuant to the city charter, the Civil Service Commission meets not every other week, but twice a month.
That is correct, Commissioner Coleman. It's the second and fourth Wednesday of each month. However, we have canceled meetings, as you well know, around
Sure.
the holidays and such, lack of quorum.
I think the only reason that the meetings have been so short as of late is because there have, except for tonight, and I'm not sure if the hearing was canceled or...
It was.
Okay.
And it was at the request of myself, because there was a canceled hearing.
Yeah, ordinarily, these meetings generally last a little longer than half an hour, and that's for sure. And we've had some meetings go well past midnight. That's irregular, but when you've got 3 members of the commission sitting on a hearing panel, they're here until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night anyway, and that's why these agendas have been so short. And I think we'll see as time progresses that there'll be more and more on the agendas, and we'll be dealing with very important items.
I'd like to, along that line, I'd like to ask Mr. Doyle what his thoughts are on that concept and whether he sees any merit to examining that and looking into it.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, Mr. Braden.
This was not a part of the agenda, it's part of the Brown Act, and if you want to explore this further, I would recommend that you agendize it and bring it back for a full discussion.
Okay. Did you want to agendize that, Mr.? I always have this thing of when we do reports, we're adding more to the staff, although I think it's up to you. If you'd like that agendized, we can. It's really at the discretion. Am I correct, Mr. Braden? Just a general question. Are we required to meet twice a month under the charter, or can they be canceled?
Well, as Mr. Doyle said, we have canceled meetings in the past, especially around holidays, plus there's not a quorum, so there's a precedent for doing that. So you can cancel meetings, that type of thing, as appropriate.
Okay, why don't we do this, Mr. Doyle? Let's just, with a I don't want a lengthy report. We've just gotten what we needed to hear bottom line, let's put it on the agenda, either a thumbs up or a thumbs down to whether or not, and I would suggest that Mr. Doyle and the staff certainly, if they don't think that the safety, see, sometimes we've had one item that was absolutely had to go because something was coming up, and so we've done that. But if they didn't think this was necessary, I would hope that Mr. Doyle or any of the staff would come up and say, we're okay, maybe we can put this off, because it does tie up a lot of money. We're spending a lot of money and paper, et cetera, that we maybe leave that to the discretion. And my suggestion would be that we get a report.
Let's put it on the, let's put
No,
it
no,
on the
no.
agenda.
I'm just saying this. We're going to put this on the agenda, and we either have a very short report, and we vote up or down whether or not to do it and what the process is.
Well, I'd just simply like to say, if we're going to put it on the agenda, then it shouldn't be a thumbs up or a thumbs down. We should discuss it.
Oh, yeah, no, we'll discuss it.
Okay.
And it will be a very short report.
Thank
I
you.
don't know what I could dream up to write about on this subject matter, other than, shall we do it or shall we not? And that,
I don't see anything more
No
than a
way.
page.
I don't even think a page.
Maybe a
Paragraph.
but again, the important thing would be to get it on the agenda, so we can discuss it.
And leave it open, because there is a process of how to do it. I mean, do we need to call all 5 of us? Can the chairman do it at the request maybe of one or whatever, something like that?
Which
Okay, we're going to agendize that.
Which meeting would you like that to?
Put it on the one that doesn't have anything on it already. 326?
But that, we have a hearing on
Do we have a hearing that night? 326 does not have a hearing that night, do we? Yeah, I think we do.
it. You don't have the hearings here, that's why.
I don't think so. I think that we didn't. Although we have some, we got to catch up on those.
Put it on March 26th.
March 26th. It's not going to be very long anyway. If you want, if it comes up, would you check the agenda, by the way, to see that that's done? Any other commission staff or staff comments? Okay, we have no closed session. What is next?
Adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
We are adjourned in memory of Jack Meyer, Sergeant Jack Meyer.